We'll have now our panel discussion, and of course, there'll be time for all of us to ask our panelists questions. But let's start our panel discussion with insights from student publication all over the country, student leaders and youth activists all over the country. We'll give around 3 minutes per speaker to react to our panel speakers. And then, of course, if they have any questions, they'll throw the questions to you. So I'd like to introduce all three of them first and then call on each one of them. Our first youth leader, reactor, is Joven Jacolbia from Assortedge. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Our next reactor is Ronan Ko from the USC Today's Carolinian. And then our last reactor is Pauline Magsino from the Manila Collegian. So, Joven.
Magandang hapon po ulit sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat po sa Activista, DAKILA at iba pang organizers sa pag-imbita sa Assortedge sa diskusyong ito. Maraming salamat din po sa mga panahuhin na nabigay ng mga kanilang mga kaalaman at karanasan na hindi rin naiiba sa mga karanasan ng aming organisasyon ng Assortedge. Hindi na po bago ang mga trolls sa Assortedge. Halos sabay nabuo ang aming organisasyon at pagdating ng mga trolls noong 2016. Dahil isa sa mga panauhing seksyon na Assortedge ang politics, palagi pong target ng aming mga artikulo. Maliban sa red tagging or yellow tagging nga, kinokopya at binabago ang aming mga content para magpakalat ng mga disinformation. Parang tila ba ito na yung new normal sa ating social media. 2016 pa lang yun, pero na yung 2020 sa ilalim ng quarantine, parang lalong sumama. Sa ilalim ng quarantine, lalong naging aktibo ang mga trolls, hindi lamang sa mga artikulo namin, pati na rin sa pag-target at pag-track down ng mga journalists, ng mga kasapi namin journalists sa Assortedge at iba pang alternative media outlets. Na I think na hindi siya masyadong na-discuss dahil mga pinakasyon. So, sa pagsasara ng ABS-CBN at pagsasabatas ng terror law, lumalakas pa yung tinatawag natin na chilling effect sa mga journalists, lalo na yung sa mga maliliit at alternative media outfits, pati na rin mga student publications. Naging mas matapang hindi lamang yung mga troll, pati yung mga nakikinabang sa kanila. For example, merong mga politicians, merong mga organisasyon na nagko-confront sa aming page at iba pang mga alternative media outfits na nagpapababa ng kanila, mga artikulong related sa kanila, kahit na factually correct naman to. Ayun nga, inaatake rin yung aming independent fact-checking initiative, yung Fact Check PH. Ngayon po, na isa mga narinig natin mga karanasan ukol sa disinformation, di ba narinig naman na po natin, dapat po natin pagpatuloy ang laban na sama-sama. Narinig natin earlier this week, tinanggal ng Facebook ang ilang mga fake news propaganda pages. Isa, dalawa, tatlo, on ilan man. Pero kulang pa rin yun. Kasi di ba, maliliit lang naman to compared sa buong sistema. Kailangan natin panagutin ang mga nagpapakalat ng misinformation, pati na rin mismo ang mga kumpanya katulad ng Facebook, government agencies, political parties, at ibang mga kumpanyang enabler at may pakana ng mga disinformation at misinformation campaigns na ito. Maliban sa kinakailangan na legal policies na magsisilbing protection, hindi lamang ng mga organisasyon, ngunit pati na rin ng mga tao, kailangan din natin na paigtingin at pagpatuloy ang pagsuporta sa mga youth at community groups, pati na rin ang mga grassroots alternative media outlets na patuloy na naglilingkod sa masa. Kasi aminin natin, ang battlefield talaga nasa communities talaga, 'di ba? Hindi naman siya national level scale agad. So, kulang man tayo sa plataforma, maaari nating labanan ang disinformation sa pamamagitan ng pagsuporta sa mga grassroots movements. Pinakamahalagang espasyo sa diskurso ang komunidad. Mahalaga rin ang koneksyon ng diskurso at pag-aksyon sa mga naakmang issue, ang komunidad. Kaya muli, nagpapasalamat ako sa Activista at DAKILA sa mga programa nilang nagtitipon ng mga kabataan, ng mga individual at mga organisasyon upang mapag-usapan natin ang mga bagay na ito at magtulungan kasi ayun ang importante na magtulungan tayo. So huli, inuudyo ko po lahat na tayo makialam. Hindi lamang maging media literate, ngunit umaksyon din para sa ating bayan. Ipaglaban natin ang mga karapatan, katotohanan at ang ating kalayaan sa pananalita at mga media. Ngayon, ayon nga po kay Marcel Darwish, walang kulungan ang kayang gumapos sa mga karapatan nating lahat. So, yun lamang po. Maraming salamat po ulit sa aktivista, dakila, sa fight, at mga iba pa nating kasama na yon sa diskusyon na to.
Maraming salamat, Joven. At kung may tanong ka pa mamaya, please feel free to ask those questions. Ang susunod natin na reactor ay si Ronan Ko from USC Carolinian. Hello, Ronan.
Hello, may I be heard?
Yes, you are.
So good afternoon, everyone. So I'd like to take this moment to thank you for inviting today's Carolinian to this talk. So throughout the talk, there were actually several times where we could personally relate to the struggles that were shared by the very speakers. For example, in the first talk, when I really liked how we were able to kind of differentiate not only misinformation from disinformation, but also fake news. Because as we see today, as has been more prevalent, like so far in our society, of how the term fake news has been sort of used as like this political weapon, which has actually been it is constantly being put up against our organization. Like whenever kind of we post on Facebook, for example, when we have our publishing materials, there's always going to be those people that are going to call us fake news organizations, even though they don't have anything to back up their claims. So it's sort of like this kind of the transformation of the term throughout the ages. So like I like how we were able to discuss about like how it's turned into this sort of like political weapon. And then secondly, in the decay of democracy, like we were really able to observe, especially since today's Carolinian has also faced, for example, a case against our Cebu governor, Gwen Garcia, with the opinion publication that we published a few months ago, if I'm correct. And like, there's this whole notion of like undermining reason and like promoting this sort of like anti-science and anti-education attitude. Like, I think we've all been able to like experience this firsthand when we get faced by people who tell us, like, ikaw na, like, ikaw na bright. So like, it's sort of like this constant battle we have with not only within our university, but whenever we publish any sort of news, because of, again, like how they mentioned this fire hose of falsehood that is being used as this political weapon that's harmful not only to society but to every single individual. And then thirdly, it was actually very enlightening to hear the answer from the panelists with the question that was posed earlier. Like, how are we going to be united with the constant alienation and these like the left and the right boundaries that are being set, that are being more and more like pushed by not only leaders but supporters of these leaders. And I think looking at different avenues that are outside politics is like a very good way of looking at things. And I think that other student publications have started to like branch out into other things as well, not only exclusively talking about politics. And then when we talk about trolls, I think all student publications here can like has their personal experiences with trolls on their page. And for today's Carolinian, for example, every single time we post a publication material, we have to look out for trolls in the comment section. Because not only are they like doubting that we're fake news, but we also have these trolls that try to make our platform their platform and try to make it a negative space. But I think hopefully as a collective whole, as student publications, we can strive together and take down this problem of these trolls. I really liked how like there was this in-depth discussion sa of what trolls actually do. Like for example, and how they actually dismantle the common baseline of knowledge and the gaming of the algorithmic bias. And I think student publications ourselves, we have to take note of this of the algorithms that we use as well, since we all have to have this presence on social media, similar to those Lithuanian elves, like we ourselves, since the tools are already there, we must be even more active. Must be even more. We have to be more vocal than those who are saying the disinformation and spreading the misinformation. And lastly, I really appreciated the the visceral journey that the last speaker gave us of her journey from being a passive individual, because I think we all have our personal journeys, because I myself can relate to that as well, because I don't think in our entire lives we're always going to be politically active. There has to be a sort of transformation, and hopefully as student publications we're able to guide people in those journeys. We're able to influence them and make politics in our country better overall. So I'd like to say once again, thank you for inviting us to this talk.
Yes.
I am Pauline Magsino from the Manila Collegian, and I want to start off by saying that I really enjoyed the discussions given by our most skilled and talented speakers. Of course, I want to emphasize how much, we see what Sir Mikael Ko talked about earlier, yung fire hosing of falsehood. Right now, we hear a lot of lies from the side of government that are rather obvious. Sometimes we just laugh them off, sometimes even call them stupid. But most of the time, we fixate on them and they can be very confusing. So, nagdo-double take tayo eh. Actually, minsan talagang humiliating din kahit we strive to be firm about these facts. We engage them even we know them to be objectively false. So, ayun, minsan talagang sa media pa pinapasa yung blame na yung press, yung publications, yung nagpo-propagate ng misinformation. Madalas yung nagko-call out hindi naman yung administration pero yung critics nito. And most of the time, it's the media on the front line. So, we can see that society is becoming increasingly pluralistic. Mas mayroong fragmentation, kaya dito rin umuusbong yung problema ng pag-organize at pag-form ng collectives. Pero siguro one of my main takeaways on the discussions talaga is that we have to be careful not to increase the fragmentation of our current society even more. Kasi dito pumapasok yung radical empathy, that we do not hold ourselves, media, and ordinary citizens alike in a relatively superior position, na dahil mas naiintindihan natin yung mga current issues na mas komprehensibo, ay mas angat na tayo and hindi na natin sila papakinggan. We go on to educate these people as if tayo lang talaga yung objectively na tama. So, katulad nga ng sinabi na Sir Mikael ko, dapat talagang pinapakinggan for the sake na pinapakinggan mo at hindi ka
Maganda pa naman yung sinasabi mo, Pauline. If you come back online, or if you can let me know that you want to continue, just let me know. We want to hear what you have to say. But I was going to also just agree with you na dun sa radical empathy. Baka connected yan sa radical love na in-espouse ni Mikael dun sa Turkey. How do we practice that though, considering nga na maraming divisions nga nag-exist? And I